This video talk about my learner experience, and I attended the Science Cafe in Dahlonega, and Dr. Mitchell, who is a geophysicist, meteorologist, and a professor by day, he kind of talked about tornadoes with this science enthusiast. Dr. Mitchell highlighted kind of like the top 10 deadliest tornadoes in U.S. history, and number 5 on that list was Gainesville. And I live in Gainesville. I have lived in Gainesville my whole life, and I grew up kind of with that history of knowing that in 1936 there was one of the deadliest tornadoes in U.S. history. And so I thought for this video, instead of me just sitting here talking to you guys, that I would take you around Gainesville and show you kind of like the hot spots of where most of the destruction took place. And then also, my grandma wasn't born during that, but she was precious enough to remember the stories that my great-grandparents had told her and stuff like that. And so she had agreed, and she was so precious, and I'm grateful for her because she actually gave me kind of like a snippet of what she remembers them telling her. And so I hope you guys enjoy this.
Gainesville, home of the chicken capital of the world, where it's illegal to eat chicken with a fork, and home to one of the deadliest tornadoes in U.S. history. Here you can see what we have rebuilt. But in 1936, early in the morning, 2 tornadoes that met on Dawsonville Highway and Atlanta Highway met here in Gainesville and completely ravaged this town. Now, after the tornadoes, you might want to zoom in down. You'll see a statue of what they say is Old Joe, and the National Guard set up camp in order to help. The town. You also see the main chicken, but we'll get to that later. Dixie Hotel was around here, and it actually had guests staying at that April morning. Luckily, the guests were able to get out just in time, but this entire area from the green building to about right there where that green strip is, it was completely torn down. It actually looked like toothpicks were twisted and just torn into a mountain of toothpicks. It's an F4 tornado. I tried to be smart, but it didn't work out. It was an F4 tornado that actually killed over 200 people, and over 1,000 people were injured. They said that letters that were mailed here in this area were actually found in Anderson, South Carolina. Okay, the crazy thing about tornadoes is they kind of pick and choose where they want to go. So in our previous location where it was completely ravaged, this location right here had minimal damage. They had maybe window damage and hail damage, but other than that, it was completely okay. Our last site is that of Cooper's Pants Factory, which is actually around the corner over here. So the factory actually had workers come in that day, and the roof collapsed during the tornado and killed over 175 workers. Now it's said to believe that the exit was locked, and of course there were flammable materials in there because there's I don't really know anything about pants, but there's flammable materials in there, and they actually went up in flames, and